Thank you, courts. Thank you. Thank you, courts.
Yay, judicial branch.
Yay, judicial branch. Because, look, it was a little, touch and go there for a while, and there's still that ever-present, omnipresent Supreme Court that's lurking out there in the dark to steal the joy from all the good thunder. But I think this is an important point. It's something that folks at this table have stressed for quite some time about the importance of this upcoming election. We started this conversation, Simone, a year ago, warning about what was coming down the pike, and here we are. And everything that we talked about seems to be playing out in some form or fashion.
I remember when I struggled, frankly, to come to the conclusion that it was accurate to say the president is trying to rig the election. And I went to, shout out to all the links out there in Detroit. They had national conference. But I went to my links meeting, and one of the ladies in my links chapter said, well, you know why every admission is an accusation. Every accusation is an admission. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, he wants to rig the election. So he said that the Democrats rigged it all those years ago so that when he was doing it, y'all wouldn't call it out. And I was like, you know what? That's a 3D level jujitsu chess situation. But I do think it is accurate. And I think that there has been a hesitancy from some folks to say, oh, well, we don't want to be hyperbolic. Don't say that he's trying to steal the election. But from the executive order to Bill Pulte to the election deniers that have been installed at the highest levels of our government to the federal government trying to exert control over our elections when literally it is laid out on all the founding papers of our country, Luke, that it is not the federal government, it is the states that do the 100%. Elections.
And if you look at the polls, it would signify that this is going to be a wave election. And I hear a lot of people, specifically on the Democratic side, say, when we get the House back, when we get the House back, when we get the House back. Let me tell you something. It is not just going to come down to people voting. It's going to come down to what is happening in these specific precincts and these specific races, because we know for a fact the federal government is going to try to do everything in their power to make voting harder for people. What does that look like? Well, we saw agents of chaos already in the Texas Democratic primary, where they're switching up. Well, you're not allowed to go to this precinct. You have to go to this precinct, blah, 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 blah. We've had reports coming today at Syracuse, New York, of ICE agents that showed up to a polling place because they were mad at a poll worker's social media regarding what happened to Renee Good. So you're starting to see what Senator Padilla said on our air, is that if you are a local county official, you need to war game out today, because chaos is coming. So voting's great. Everybody should go out there and vote. Everyone should have that right and exercise it. But also be mindful that you're going to run up against something else, and that is a president that has autocratic tendencies, who does not like free and fair elections because he wants to choose his own voters. So, and Stephen Miller's already admitted it, too. We want to change who our voters are.
So that chaos that my colleague and friend refers to is real. It is something that I can tell you as a former state official, you have to always be aware of when you're working in sort of tight situations where you don't know, you have partners who aren't playing right. That relationship between the states and the feds is a sometimes tenuous one, but it's even more so now because of this president and what he is trying to do. This is a states' rights 10th Amendment issue, very clearly. It is a constitutional right, as Luke pointed out and Simone pointed out, that belongs this exclusive space for voting. How do the courts manage this? How do the courts navigate that chaos and sort of contain it and try to control it?
It's quite easy. This is in our Constitution. It's clear that states and Congress can govern our elections, not the executive. So any exertion of power from this president is well beyond his executive authority. And the courts have the duty to make sure that they are enforcing separation of powers, that Congress has its full authority, states also have their full authority, the judiciary has its authority, and the president does. What the president is doing is using bullying tactics, scare tactics, to make what is already one of the most unproductive Congresses in modern history continue to be hijacked and stalled from passing legislation to help protect the American people by trying to blackmail them to pass this SAVE Act, which effectively stops almost all voters everywhere, whether you're a woman, whether you're a person of color, if you're a person with disabilities, an elderly person. This act that he wants to push through will make voting exponentially harder for everyone. And we have to be prepared to face whatever challenges there are at the polls, because the chaos we're talking about will only get worse on the other side of the election if we don't get to cast our ballot for representatives who will to protect our rights.